Hello, I have here for you a challenge in EU4. The task is simple. You have 5 changes you can make to the game, but the actual changes you're allowed to make are as follows. Number 1. You can make 1 minus into a plus. Number 2. You can make 1 plus, or lack of a plus, into a minus. Number 3. You can add 1, 0. Number 4. You can remove 1, 0. And finally, number 5. You can add 1 hash character. The hash will code comment the line of code out from being loaded. This, unironically, is already enough to crash the game, so there will be one further requirement for this. The game must load with your changes, and it must run unobstructed until 1821. Otherwise, you can change all mod files that you have access to within EU4. For a quick modding tutorial on how to set up your mod and get ready for this, the official EU4 channel actually very recently made a video on exactly this topic, so feel free to consult that. It's very convenient that I was going to go over that in my video today, but frankly they just covered the same material. Otherwise, for the challenge itself, here is my submission. Before I do show you that, just a quick pit stop to say that a like would be appreciated if you haven't already, and a subscription would be amazing. Anyway, let's not waste more time. What are my changes in my submission for this challenge? Well, here we are, we've loaded into England with my mod active. Famously, I do not play England like ever. And the first thing where we have to change 1 minus into a plus is going to be affecting a very interesting province modifier. I will be returning to it later, but to get that province modifier in question going, we're going to need to get any of our rebels to 50% progress. And one of the ways you can get a whole bunch of unrest to demonstrate this is, of course, to also get a bunch of war exhaustion. Let me do that now. So here we are with the magic of the console. We've gained 20 war exhaustion, and this is going to be my actual submission for the second change that I've made. See, to add a bit more spice to the situation, to make it a bit more interesting to gain war exhaustion, the plus that I've changed into a minus affects a line of code within the war exhaustion. More specifically, now at 20 war exhaustion or above, which is the cap, your core creation cost is reduced by 60%, not by plus 60, aka it's not increased by 60%. This means that gaining war exhaustion is actually the meta here for coring your land faster. However, it's a bit of a dangerous game to play, as it's also going to give you 20 unrest, and normally that just means you get a bunch of rebels. But you can probably see where the first submission is going to go. Because let's take a look at something like these English particularists. We can't provoke them, but if we let the game play, we'll be able to provoke them shortly. Now, for the third change, we need to add a 0 to a line of code. There's a lot I could have done with this, and I didn't want to go too extreme, but one relatively fun or interesting way of messing with the setup is going to be to modify a rather interesting scope for the fort level your capital provides. Yeah, that's about it. I made your capital give you plus 10 fort level. Yep. It's stupid, it works, and capital forts are now good goddamn luck ever sieging this. They're practically invincible barriers that you can never bring down, especially if you put a normal fort on it, but it's redundant, honestly. Basically, the capital fort level, very overpowered, makes every OPM really, really over the top, and absolutely ruins or breaks the game in interesting ways. But I'd like to say that it gets a bit more or less interesting, because I feel like I've given a lot of buffs out at the moment. Let's wait until France declares war on us for the surrender of Maine. There we go, we're on pause, France announced arrival. I'm going to do absolutely nothing of my... Wow, and I get an heir immediately. That's kind of ironic, considering I'm England. I'm glad I got on camera. Anyway, we're going to wait until the surrender of Maine itself, because it's going to be the second part of the demonstration. Because I didn't realize you could change this until I was looking for things to change. And remember, the number 4 spot is we're going to get rid of a 0 from one line of code. France, do you mind? There you go, I just had to ask for it. We will not surrender an inch of territory to the French. And so what happens? Well, let's say we want to go to France, and we're going to want to make the treaty that you're going to become a Union of France. We can't seem to demand that. We actually can't even demand a lot of things here. We can't even demand this. Why is that? Now let's take a look at offering tribute, and... Oh. Yeah, the max war score is now 10. As you can see here, they're happy to give back Maine and for some money. Because the maximum war score by default is 100, and I could have made it 1,000, but no. We're gonna make it 10. Enjoy. Get your province war score quad modifiers, get your admin efficiency going, because the max war score is, again, 10. God, this is going to be miserable. Did not know this was good modded, but there we go. Right, but there's the war. Let's quickly give up all of our land and give them some money. And we're now back to return to point number 1. We've kind of delayed that a little bit. As you can see, our English peasants are at 70%. Let's provoke the revolt of said English peasants. And may have already linked it before, but the The minus that we changed into a plus is for recent uprising. This now gives you plus 100 unrest. This means that if you ever do get rebels that just occur, forever you're just going to have rebels now. Enjoy. Until the province is actually taken by someone else, or you lose the province, which offsets the modifiers, you're going to have plus 100 unrest, which is more than enough time to get the uprising again. And obviously this makes the war exhaustion modifier that gives you plus 17 unrest extra brutal, because it basically means that even if you put down the revolt, that doesn't matter. It's just going to keep and keep rising up. So we're going to lose this here, and as you can see, the AI is going to immediately walk off London because he has no chance of sieging it. However, the plus 100 unrest has secondary effects. Now, the unrest on the province also affects your local tax, your shipbuilding, and recruitment time. So any province that's ever get affected by plus 100 unrest is just not going to pay you any taxes, and it's never going to finish any ships or regiments that you want to build on the province. Yep, just one line of code change there, from a minus to a plus. And recent uprising is now going to cripple anything it affects, because again, these English peasants, as you can see, yeah, basically 100% chance of rising up every month. Well, 75%, so enjoy. Ah, we actually got a 25% there. But anyway, I digress, because we're done with 4 out of our 5. What is the 5th one? What is the most brutal thing that I could do out of code commenting one line? Well, there's actually a lot, and I'm interested to see what you will come up with within your runs, because there's a lot that you can do and a lot that you can change, because removing one line of code is anything from removing a requirement to form Rome, to removing how the AI evaluates strength calculations, like removing one of the lines from that, so you can really mess with how the AI goes and takes battles. But no, what I decided to remove is a really, really concerning line, and I feel like it really shouldn't be removed for good reason, because that is the line of code that makes development more expensive based on existing development. As you can see here, London has no extra dev cost due to the fact that it has 20 development. So if we were to develop it, as you can see, it is still 29 per click. Forever. I removed the plus 3% development cost that you get for each 1 point of existing development, meaning that development no longer scales up in its increase. Dear God, this is bad. This is terrifying. It's actually not as broken as vanilla, as you can technically stack minus 100% dev cost modifier in there, and dev cost modifier doesn't affect the total percentages there later. They get offset by higher dev costs, so at minus 100% dev cost modifier, the base 50 dev cost of a province becomes 0. However, in this case, yeah, as you can imagine, this gets pretty bad. But these are my submissions for the 5 changes within this 5-point challenge. I'm curious to see what you can come up with and how much you can break the game. But as a secondary reminder, just to be absolutely clear so we're all on the same page here, the game must load, and the game must run at 1821. So no, load into the game, unpause, and let it crash day 1. I'm not going to run this until 1821 because you get the picture. It just basically means to run. I said 1821 to cover my bases. But yeah, this runs fine, despite all of these changes and innovations. And certainly will make for a rather cursed time-lapse if you want to partake in it, as the actual game itself is going to have, well, a lot of pretty constant rebellions. Anyway, yeah, that's the challenge. If you want to make your submissions yourself, I've created a special channel in my Discord to submit your runs, or more specifically, your mods. Remember, you can't change anything else. It has to be vanilla, but you're just changing those 5 things. And to be clear on the rules, if there isn't a plus, you can add a minus into the void. Hope you guys have fun, and I'd love to see your submissions, and as well as encourage you to look through other people's submissions. Again, there'll be a link to my Discord for where you can submit these challenges yourself, and let's have some fun with it. But with that all said, that is going to be all the time I have for today. Thank you very much for watching, with a special thank you to my channel members, especially Ark, Solar, W Haste, Salem, Sal72, Lord Zendikar, Nick Fassbender, Nanhatan, Nick Huss, The Awesome Rabbit, Best Pro Gaming, Grandma Flavia, Connor, Andreas Alberg, Decky, Sov, Mobkiller, Anthony35, AC Napo, Glorious Leader, Zerkis, Mr. Koomshock, Yukata, and Danray.